Bienvenidos, gracias. Ahí está, ya el sonido, muchas gracias. Queremos probar el sonido, Jorge, rápidamente.
Sí, 1, 2, 3,
Perfecto.
4, probando.
Professor, Buzan, please. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Eso. Sí, sí. Muy buenos días a todos, gracias por estar aquí. Bienvenidos a todos los colegios y escuelas del Sistema UNO. Es un honor tenerlos con nosotros esta mañana y de compartir esto que estoy seguro será una gran y valiosa experiencia para todos nosotros. Bienvenidas las escuelas del Colegio UNO, bienvenidos los profesores y directivos del Colegio Eton, invitados también, y del Colegio Alemán de México. Gracias por estar aquí esta mañana. Vamos a realizar toda la primera sesión en inglés en atención a nuestro invitado, Tony Buzan. Viene de Inglaterra, ya les contará él un poco de su origen. Entonces lo vamos a hacer en inglés. Yo sé que todos tienen su dispositivo de traducción simultánea para aquellos que lo necesiten. Y después vendrá la sesión de preguntas y respuestas. Y ahí podremos hacerlo en español y él recibirá también traducción simultánea. Así es que ese será el formato. Vamos a tener una presentación primero acá arriba de Tony y de Jorge. Ahora se los voy a presentar. Ellos harán una exposición. Después tendremos un debate y una discusión acá arriba sobre toda esta línea de pensamiento en torno al uso de la memoria, la expansión de las habilidades cerebrales, la interconexión de los hemisferios. Y después abriremos a preguntas y respuestas para que ustedes directamente puedan tener un intercambio con él. Así es que, let me introduce Mr. Tony Buzan, and let me say first that this is, Tony, a real privilege to have you here. Thank you very much. It's a real privilege that we have because this guy, ladies and gentlemen, is a worldwide personality. He is known as the inventor or creator of the mind maps. He has written and worked in more than 100 books, which make him not only a very prolific author, but maybe a World Guinness record as well. Books about the brain, the thinking, the memory, the use of the brain, the use of all these abilities in the learning process. Translated into 33 languages in more than 150 countries. He is the founder of the World Memory Championship, the World Speed Reading Championship, and the Brain Trust Charity. He has received international awards, medals, namings, and maybe statues in the near future, isn't it? Of course. Well, let's welcome with a big round of applause, Mr. Tony Buzan, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Tony. You're very welcome.
How long do I have?
We'll have now like a 15 minutes. Let me introduce Jorge in a minute. Yes? Would you like to start already? Go ahead, please.
Happy.
Yes, go ahead.
Buenos dias. In the first session today, I have about 15 minutes to start talking about what, for me, is the most important thing in the world. And the most important thing in the world is the teacher. The teacher is the most important person in the world. And in the time that we spend together, I hope we will be talking about you and the future and what that means. So first of all, let us find out who we are all together. How many of you here are scientists?
Raise your hand, please. Yes.
So,
Scientist.
okay, so no scientists. Okay. How many of you are teachers? Okay, so 100% teachers, 0 scientists. I'll have to think about that. How many of you here are poets?
No poets. Oh, there is a poet there. Oh, thank you, thank you.
Okay, so we have 2 poets. Are you Who is a poet? So 0 scientists, 2 poets for the teachers. How many of you here have your own children? Your own children. How many of you have children? Okay. Excellente. How many of you here are artists?
Very good. Excellent.
Okay, about 6. So we have 200 people. Is it how many here today?
250 more or less. Yes.
250. 250. So how many of you are not artists? All right. 243. How many of you here do mind maps? How many of you do mind maps? Excellent. How many of you do your mind maps with the hand? Good. How many of you do mind map with computer? Okay, so a good number. How many of you here are daydreamers? Excellent. How many of you daydream every day? How many of you enjoy your daydreaming? Good. And how many of you have already been daydreaming in the very short time here that you and I have been together? How many of you have already had daydreams? And so have I. And in schools, when children are daydreaming, is that considered good or bad? Yeah. Globally around the school, it is considered bad. Bad. Now, do you have paper and pen here? See? Can you just take out some paper and pen? I just want you to do a 2-minute exercise. 2-minute exercise. I want you to imagine that Leonardo knows how good you are and has asked you to come up, and therefore you will be presented. You will make a 5-minute presentation, and we will have a quick curriculum vitae, the summary of you. So I'd like you to imagine that you're going to come up here and we will introduce you, but we obviously need your curriculum vitae. So if you could just quickly jot down who you are, starting now.
You have a remarkable teacher now, so you have to behave and be very productive.
Good. So one more minute, so do this fast. Okay, I'd like you now in groups of 2, just briefly introduce yourself. The good news for you is you don't have to come and present here. But do quickly introduce yourself using your notes, starting now.
How long have you had to send this?
Doesn't make any difference.
This is like 20 minutes.
Whenever. All the timings are random, so
No, because the format is the exchange of.
there are only 3. 2 hours.
Water? The tea is coming, eh? There is the tea.
Brillante.
Sí. Mira, Leonardo.
Sí.
Ya lo pudimos producir en español.
Ah, muy bien. El que me diste a mí estaba en
Okay, group.
Pero ahora acaba de salir.
Today we are going to be obviously involved in the discussion, but we're going to look at metacognition. Metacognition, which is thinking about thinking. And each one of the 3 of us will be presenting our own points of view, and then we will discuss, engage you in the conversation as well. So meta-thinking means thinking about thinking. And I want to ask you, how many of you like or love colors? 100%. It is human. It is human. Color helps you learn, helps you remember, helps you think, helps you become creative and innovative. And you have just introduced yourselves, and you have used the behavior that you and I were taught how to take notes. What color, when you were a student in school or college or university, what color were you mainly using? Black or blue? Black or blue? And I've gone around and seen you. Nearly all of them, 245 of them, in black or blue. Introducing you. Black or blue. When I was in school, I was taught that I had to use one color. When I was 5 years old, 6 years old, 7, one color. And if I used 2 colors, smack, and punishment of 100 lines at school in my detention. So around the world, all children are basically taught one color. And that is considered to be academic or scholastic. But let us now think about it. One color is a monochroma. A monochrome is monotone. A monotone of color. You link mono, you link tone, what word do you get? Monotone, monotonous. Monotonous, which is monotonous. And what word do people use to describe something that is really, really monotonous? And you all know it. your head teachers, your leading teachers, your administrators. You are leading people in education, the most important area in the world. And you all know that it's boring. And when your brain is bored, what happens? What does your brain do when you're bored? Yeah, it's tune out, switch off, shut down, go to sleep. And you go into school or university libraries around the world, what are half the people doing? Sleeping. Giant public bedrooms of planet Earth. So all the brains are becoming bored because of what they are taught. So who is going to help change that? The teacher. The teacher will change that. All of you now are beginning to mind map. When you mind map, you must use color. And let me just show you, or me, or Jorge, or Leonardo, or one of your children personally or in your school. This is how the brain thinks. Central image, not words, central image. This is going to be more interesting than that. You've got two Tonys here. Look at this one. So this is how the mind map works. Image, beautiful branches that are like the branches of a tree. And this is everything that Leonardo said about me. But it's in a mind map. And you don't have to remember all the information. Just observe the way the brain works. Main branch, radiating sub-branches. Each branch radiates other branches, builds the associations, builds the map of your thought. And that's how mind mapping works. Not words. It's images and associations and the network. So that is what the mind map actually looks like. So think now about how you described yourself. You look at the notes. What color were the notes when you were introducing yourself? Black or gray? That's you. Was there color in there? No. Images? No. Pictures? No. Imagination? No. So that is linear, boring, dull, shackling the brain, and it is not you. It is not you. You are imaginative. You are colorful. You are integrated. You are engaging. You are powerful. You are present. You are interesting. And the mind map reflects who you are. So in the discussions we're going to have, I want to emphasize that you are the most important profession in the planet, and that there are many definitions of what a teacher is. And I'll give you those definitions as we are talking. Jorge will have those ideas obviously as well, and so will Leonardo. But I'd like you to note the definitions of teacher So the teacher is a colorful personality helping all children. A colorful personality helping all children. The teacher is the one who fires the imagination of all students. Fires the imagination. So you can be a teacher of chemistry, you can be a teacher of language, you can be a teacher of sport, but all teachers must fire the imagination. So you become much broader, deep, with your mind and with the mind of your students. So let us look. I've got two more things to look at with you. One is creativity. How many of you are not particularly creative? How many of you not particularly creative? Okay, a couple of you. How many of you are average creative? Average creative? Okay. How many of you are very creative? Okay, so a few of you. So let's check. Let's look at the creativity studies for people through the ages. Creativity studies. So we're going to take groups who are age bunched. And we're going to look first at kindergarten children. And the studies in Utah, NASA, many other studies, and Jorge has deep knowledge of those. They take groups, they give them problems to solve, and then they examine their brains. How do they do? How do they do? What percentage do you think kindergarten children score? 0 to 100? Yeah, I hear 90, 100. How many of you believe that kindergarten children score very high? Yeah, very high it is. It's a bit blocked, but it's 95%. How many of you have kindergarten children? Excellent. Next group, obviously, the primary school. How many of you have primary school children? Yeah, excelente. What score do you think they got? Yeah, I hear 70 to 80. 75. Well done, group. Next group, senior school. How many of you have senior school children? Okay, good number of you. What percentage? 50, 50, 40, 50, 50. Ta-da. 50. Now, ladies and gentlemen, my friends, that is horrible news. Because around the world, it's in Mexico, it's in Japan, it's in England, it's in America, it's in Australia, it's in Deutschland, it's in the Arabic Gulf, it's in India, everywhere. It's the same. 50 and down. And even worse is the fact that you know the answers. You know them before we even get the results of the study. So the studies are a waste of time. Because we know. We know. And how many of you, ladies and gentlemen, graduate from a college or a university? College or a university? Aha. Congratulations. And down it goes, adult, 10%. And that's the world. That's the world. Which is why governments around the world are suddenly getting very concerned and frightened. Because the world is going down in creativity. The average person is getting older. So per capita creativity is down. And it's even worse. It's normal. It's normal, which is terrible. It means that all children know that, so their future is what? The dying of creativity. Every day, it's worse and worse. And in other country surveys around the world, survey with parents, children come home, and mommy and daddy say, you were in school today, how was it? And what the children say about the day in school. Most of you got it. It's boring, 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 boring. And with good teachers, it's fun, isn't it? It's enjoyable. But for most children around the world, it's boring. So that's the bad news. And I'm pleased to say that in the session we have this morning and early the afternoon, that's the end of the bad news. Because the good news is that normal is not, and I emphasize, normal is not natural. Not natural. Natural is that creativity gets better and better and better throughout life. Throughout life, like that. The arrow. So every day of your lives, you should get better and better. You blossom. You grow. If you have the correct formula. If we all did as children. And let me give you the example of why. How long do I have on my next?
Yours is fine. Go ahead.
Can I?
Yeah.
I want you to imagine that you are an Olympic athlete. On my curriculum vitae, you know that I coach Olympic athletes. So you imagine that you're an Olympic athlete, you are muscularly strong, you are flexible, you are cardiovascularly very strong. And you're stuck in a swamp. And you're sinking. And you think, I will use my Olympian energy to help me get out. What will happen to you? You will sink. And you will sink slower or faster? Faster. So think about that. That the more intelligent you are, the more focused you are, the more strong you are, the more kind you are, the more concerned, caring, and loving you are, the faster you go down. If you are using the wrong formula. Because people put all that energy into the wrong methodology. And in education globally, the wrong formula are given to children globally. And it's really serious. In England now, there's a revolution among the parents and students because it's all organized and all linear and all list-like and gray and black. And many parents are taking the children out of school because they don't want to see that happen. So natural is different. And therefore, the definition of the teacher, another definition of the teacher. The teacher nurtures the natural creativity of the child. Nurtures the natural creativity of the child. And one of the techniques for doing that is teaching the children how to mind map in the correct way, which bursts your creativity. So the news is getting good, isn't it? That the future now can be globally upwards in terms of creativity? And who is going to be responsible for the world becoming more creative? The teachers. You, the most important profession in the world. So let me say one more thing and then I'm going to... I actually want to stay here for 2 days. But let me do one more. We're going to look at the current use. Actually, I'm going to do two quickly. The current use in memory, learning, and creativity. What percentage of the brain's learning power on a daily basis, what percentage is used? Yeah, I hear a lot of 5, 10, 5. How many of you believe, say, between 5 and 20% on average? The use 5 to 20%? How many of you think more than 20%? How many of you think 1 to 5%? How many of you think less than 1%? 0? So some of you don't think. Because it's either above 20%, it's between 5 and 10, between 1 and 5 or below. But you think of it as low, as low. So the world is not using its resource. And I am pleased to tell you that when you're estimating, say, between 5 and 20, you are optimistic. It is less than 1%. Less than 1%. Is that good news or bad news? Bad news. Everybody says bad news. It's not bad news. It's not bad news. It's very good news. Look at it. Look at the other way around. If you're only using less than 1%, what's still there? What's still there?
Great potential.
99% plus, great potential. Is that good news? It would be terrible if people were using 20% and doing as poorly as they do. But they're using less than 1% doing what they can do. So the potential is immense, and it is therefore hopeful. It gives you hope, and hope inspires the body and the brain and the spirit. Who is responsible for that? The teacher. So the definition of the teacher. The teacher, the teacher is the person who encourages the child to unleash the phenomenal potential of the child, and therefore of the family, of the school, of the nation, and of the world. I toast you. So every morning you wake up, and instead of thinking, I'm a teacher and I've got to teach 30 slow, not very good, you're waking up thinking, 30 geniuses that I'm going to help. What a wonderful way to spend your life. So the news is good. So finally, the revolutions around the world. The revolutions. What age has happened and takes place? The agricultural age, followed by, what was the next age? The industrial. But please do think about that. What are children taught to do? They are taught to work as a farmer, or to work as a factory worker, as laborers, physical. So, question, what age are we in now? Quick chat with your partners. Speak in groups of 3 or 4. What age are we in now? Just find out what your people think. Great fun.
Very good.
Exactly. So I'll do those and then. Okay, group. What age are we in now? Tell me aloud, what age do you think? Okay, so I hear lots. The vote is information technology, computer. And there it is. So what are children taught to be? Information workers, computer programmers, technological workers, etc. In each age, the brains think in that age. So in the first age, they think agriculturally. The next age, everybody thought industrially. And now it's thinking informationally, technologically, computer-wise. So education lives within the age. So the way in which you think and teach must be connected to the age. And around the world, all governments, all the professional educational bodies I have worked with, all the companies agree with you that we are in the technological information computer age. And I, so is Jorge, are disagreeing with you and all the governments and all the businesses. We are not in that age. And if we're not in that age, we're thinking in the wrong way. And we're teaching children in the wrong way. The information age gave the biggest stress that the world has ever had, and that caused illness around the world. What was the disease, the global problem with the information age? Yeah, a number of you say, the information overload. How many of you suffer from information overload? Too much. Yeah, people, well, I miss me. So that's not the age. The brain worked that out, and already there is the next age, which is the knowledge age, which has begun to kind of seep up around educational worlds and business, where the knowledge manager grows. And the children become what kind of worker?
Knowledge workers.
Knowledge workers. And that is the word, the concept. So the child becomes a knowledge worker. And therefore teachers, rather than just helping them become laborers or information technologists or computer programmers, teaching them to become knowledge workers. It's a lovely idea. And in that age, what way do people think it? How do they think? They think knowledgeably. Is that good? Is it good to think knowledgeably as opposed to informationally? Of course. And around the world, the managers of knowledge and the directors of knowledge came together in Singapore to discuss this and control the information stress. and they came to an intriguing conclusion. They concluded that knowledge management does not work. Does not work. That there is something far more important to manage than to manage knowledge. Something far more important. So again, with your group 3 or 4, find out what your friends think. What is it more important to manage than to manage knowledge? Quickly find. What's more important? Very smart. Smart.